Welcome to the Time Management Podcast with me, your host, Abigail Barnes. I'm a productivity coach, global speaker, time management author, and award-winning entrepreneur on a mission to share the 888 formula with the world and to remind you that it's your time. Leave it to me to bring you new time management tips, tricks, tools, and strategies, to introduce you to guests, research, and case studies from around the world, and to give you a simple 5-step process you can follow to uplevel your productivity, achieve your goals, and create a life that exceeds your wildest dreams. I'm so excited that you're here, so let's get started. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited that you're here. It's you and me and a special guest who I have known for over a decade, and they are joining us from Costa Rica. This episode is a good one. I cannot wait for you to hear it. We are talking about what she discovered from doing the 7-day Time Audit challenge, the Find Your Missing Hour, as well as what life is like in Costa Rica. And spoiler alert, halfway through our conversation, she lost power and we had to start again. So without further ado, let's dive into that episode. Today, I am so delighted to be joined by the incredible Ruti Block. Welcome to the show, Ruti.
Thank you so much. I am beyond excited to be here. Well, we both are, aren't we, Bam Bam? Yes, we're very excited to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
I can't wait to dive into this conversation. Today, we are talking all about what happened for you off the back of doing the Find Your Missing Hour 7-day Time Audit challenge.
Yeah, and I'm very, very excited to share that with you because I just had so many realizations that who knew? I thought I was quite organized. This just took me up to another level and it's really helped me, and I've been implementing it. I have to remember to implement it because obviously I was doing something in a way before and it kind of takes 21 days to create a new habit. So I have to write a reminder for myself at the beginning of each week, the new way that I'm doing things, and it's becoming part of my new regime. So thank you so much.
What would you say was the biggest thing that you learned from doing that challenge? And let's break it down into your work life and your life.
One of the things was actually putting more boundaries around my work life and my life. Because what I realized was being an entrepreneur, people have access to us on a 24-hour basis. And I realized from doing the audit that I wasn't actually respecting my own rest and recovery as much as I could be. It was leaking out. I was feeling that if somebody messaged me that I would need to respond back to them straight away, blah, 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 blah. What it really did was it really helped me figure out putting extra boundaries in place so that when I'm working, and when I'm not working, I'm not feeling guilty about not working.
Thank you so much for explaining it. And before we go any further, who is Ruti Block in a nutshell?
Ruti Block is a menopause fitness coach. I live in Costa Rica. I run 8-week online body transformation programs called Feel Fabulous with Ruti. I also do one-to-one private immersions here in Costa Rica. This is Bam Bam, who is my sidekick. And without Bam Bam, I wouldn't be able to do anything. When women get over 40, they enter into a stage of their life, whether they're premenopausal, menopausal, they get into an area of their life where for some women, their navigation is off. It's like they wake up and the manual that worked for them before doesn't work for them anymore. I help those women feel sexy, feel strong, and help them navigate through what for some people can be like a minefield with bombs going off all the time and not understanding who set the bombs off or how they went off or what to do to put the fires out or the hot flushes out. That's what I do.
It's so exciting. And for those of you who are listening to the podcast and aren't watching it on our YouTube channel, Bam Bam is a dog. Just wanted to clarify that there in case anybody was wondering who Bam Bam was. You have told us that the challenge helped you to put in place these boundaries between your work and life. What does it mean for your work life? How has it helped you? Have you changed off the back of tracking your time for 7 days?
One of the most amazing things about this was that I had a to-do list. At the beginning of every week or the beginning of every month, I would have certain things that were scheduled in on a weekly basis. And then at the beginning of the week, I would then review my week and put in the appointments into my written book, because I've got this 365-day diary. So I just know that everything's all in one place. But the thing that I didn't do was I didn't schedule in the to-dos for that day. I scheduled in appointments into my diary and took out time slots for appointments and how long it would take for me to get to certain things, because I live in the jungle. You have to allow, in the jungles in Costa Rica, you have to allow a little bit of extra time to get to appointments, because there might be a sloth crossing the road or something like that, or a bridge down, or just some random thing that you just wouldn't have in the UK. So I'd have the to-do, but I wouldn't figure out when I was going to do the to-do. I wouldn't slot it in. I would have it written on the page, and somehow I would hope that would get done, but I wasn't slotting it in anywhere. Now, what I've done from doing this time audit, I've now got a master sheet with everything that needs to be done in a week or in a month. It goes on a master sheet. And then at the beginning of each week, I don't like electronic stuff. It doesn't work for me having a reoccurring diary. I need to have the piece of paper and tick the things off. I now have this sheet, and I look at the sheet and I schedule in all my appointments and the time to get to the appointments, because that was the other thing that I wasn't doing. I was scheduling the appointments, but they're not all online. I wasn't allowing the time before and after. And now I'm looking at the other things where they slot in and then actually putting them in, which, I mean, for some people, they might be going, yeah, that is really obvious. But for me, it wasn't. I just wasn't doing that. And as a result of that, I'm now able to post on social media twice a day. I mean, I'm not actually doing all the posting, but I'm able to have everything ready so that the post can go out twice a day on social media, because I now have a day where I'm creating all the content, and then I have 2 days where I'm editing everything, and I've actually scheduled that into my diary. So when it comes to doing it, and then the other bit that was missing that I didn't get until the latter end of the challenge was, if I didn't do something because something unexpected happened, I wouldn't then reschedule it. I just wouldn't do it. So now, if for any reason I don't get to do that thing, then I then make sure that that thing moves into another day. And it's the small things that make the big differences. It's literally been a game changer for me.
Thank you so much for the honesty and vulnerability in sharing the answer like that, and for really detailing exactly how you do it. We've had a few people on the podcast sharing what they do, and what I'm starting to recognize, and I hope this comes across for the listeners, is every single person is different. And can I just say, how many people, how many places are you going to have to factor in that a sloth might walk across the road?
I know, it's the best, isn't it? But it happens, because here in Costa Rica, when that happens, everybody stops. The people don't drive around it. It's a celebration. We're like, oh my goodness, it's sloth. Everybody gets out, they take photos, and that sloth takes a really long time to cross the road. That can add on like 2 hours onto your journey.
It brings a whole new meaning to that excuse. I'm sorry, I'm late. A sloth was crossing the road. I don't really know how to ask the next question, but I'm just going to anyway. I feel like the sloth has stolen the mic here. How exactly did you audit your time? This is a question that comes up, and people love to know in detail what somebody else did.
I'm going to be really honest about this, because here in Costa Rica, you think that everybody has printers. We don't have printers here in Costa Rica because it's very difficult to actually have ink, and then the ink dries up or goes off. So we don't have things that you can just automatically print out. And so I wasn't actually able to print it out. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to be able to do it. I'm going to be able to do it on my laptop. I'm going to be able to do the little things on the laptop. But what I realized, and this is another thing I realized about me, is that, and I'm sure other people will relate to this, is that some things actually do need to be printed on a chart. I wasn't able to go in and do it on my laptop. The way I measured the time was all over the place. My time management on this week was all over the place, but that's what gave me the insights into, okay, we need to create a different system, because I would start in my diary and I would start to write down every 30 minutes what I was going to do. Then I would get distracted because we'd have a power out or something, and then I wouldn't be able to get on my phone, or someone would call me, or something would happen, or I'd need to get the washing out, the washing machine, because the sun's come out and I've got a 2-hour window where the sun's out and I can dry my washing. So it made me realize when I was in the UK how I could do things much more structured, and how now I'm in Costa Rica and how now there's so many different variables, internet on, internet off, not being able to access certain things. How, in order for me to be able to function really well, it is actually having things printed off and having 10 of one thing in advance so that I can then use that to do the audit. So it was all over the place. I can be honest with you, it was totally disorganized. And I did want to give up because I felt shame around it. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to admit that I haven't got a system in auditing my time. But then I was like, well, if this is me, then there's other people that are going to be like this. And I don't like to give labels to things, but I do have ADHD and I also have dyslexia. I see them as superpowers. But with this particular task, I started to realize how actually certain things I do in different ways and they work well for me. And the way that works well is to have some things that are really structured like this. So having a thing that's printed out that I have with me in the diary. So I'm not having to do it on the phone because there might not be Wi-Fi, or my laptop might have died and I can't charge it because we've got a power out. I need it on a piece of paper. So that was super handy. And that's when I realized, oh, I'm not putting the things in the diary. I came at it from a completely different angle, and I had to work through quite a lot of the emotions around, oh my God, this is a simple task. How come you're not doing it in the way that it was asked to be done? But then I realized that that's one of my superpowers. And being a human being, we all do things slightly differently. And what's amazing about your challenge is that you have room. The whole thing is not judgmental. There's a structure, there's a suggestion. The intention is to audit your time, which I did. I got a lot out of it. But there's no point where you feel like you're being inadequate or you're not doing well from the support that you get from you, which is really beautiful, because I've done other challenges with other things and I am the only person responsible for how I feel about things. But if you have experienced some learning difficulties, or you have experienced some scrambling of brains or stuff like that, there's certain ways of being with people that can help to nurture that. And that's one thing that this really helped me to do, is you really help to nurture my own natural process. And then you celebrated it with me, which was amazing. Like, I was like, oh, this is great. So I just thank you for that, because to get that over and across on a 7-day challenge isn't an easy thing to get that across. But that was something that you did amazing, that really helped me move through the chaos of the brain and not having certain things in place to get to the point where I got to.
Thank you so much again for being so honest. You said so many things in that answer just then. I want to celebrate you for them. And I also want to use them to highlight the case for others. You're in a different country. You don't have access to a printer, a very basic solution in many cases. And you managed to find a different way around that. You've also now got my brain thinking about how can we post things out to people, but can it even reach them in certain countries? So conversations for an operations situation. But you found a way, and I absolutely love that. And I applaud you for that. And I want people to hear that in life, even the simplest thing that we do is going to have an obstacle. You can either find an excuse or you can find a way. You also highlighted that you are aware of your different learning style. I am aware of my own learning style, which is why everything that I do, I try to be as inclusive as possible and not say, as you highlighted, this is the way to do it. If you don't do it like this, then you failed. Because I truly believe that as we are all climbing the mountain, there are 500 different ways to get to the top of the mountain. Some ways are going to be faster than others, but on some ways you actually learn what it is that you need to learn. So just because one person does it the way that's recommended and it is the fastest way doesn't mean that they will learn everything, because in their rush to be perfect, they don't notice what it is that they would have noticed if they had given themselves some time and some grace. What I'm really hearing from you is that you recognize so many different things other than how am I using my time? What is the return that I'm getting for it? You notice that you actually didn't have a process. But why would you have had a process? Because who teaches us how to do these things? We expect that we know so many things, and yet we don't know them, because why would we know them unless we go through a learning such as the one that you have done, with the challenge that I have done, that we all do repeatedly. And we in life are here to live and to learn. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. Such a great explanation and hope and proof for others that there are multiple different ways to do this time audit. Ruti, what would you say to somebody about doing a time audit?
Just dive in and do it. It's going to give you more than you think it's going to give you. And if you don't think you need it, then actually I would recommend you doing it. We don't always know what we need. In life, when we think we have all the answers and we've got something sussed, that limits our growth. I would just say it was very unexpected for me. I wasn't expecting to got what I got out of it. I did it because I thought, you know what, this sounds really interesting, and I'm always about learning. And I know Abby's so amazing at the whole time management, everything. I was like, yeah, you know what, I really want to do this. And I went in with an open mind. I went in with okay, let's do this. Let's see what happens. And I would recommend it to anybody and everybody. And I think it's one of those tools in your toolbox that everybody should have, because it's going to be the thing that just keeps on giving. I mean, time is so valuable. Our personal boundaries, what we put our time into, is so important. The more we put our time into ourselves, this is a form of self-love. This is a form of discipline, but how I look at it is discipline is the highest form of self-love. And this is a discipline. Just doing this alone is going to raise your vibrational frequency around your own personal self-love. It's going to give you boundaries. It's going to give you all these amazing things. The question I would say to anybody is, why wouldn't you do it?
Ruti, what would you say to somebody who was thinking about doing a time audit?
I would say, why wouldn't you want to do a time audit? Why wouldn't you want to find where in your life you can create some more boundaries and have more time for yourself? The time audit enables you to create more discipline into your day. Discipline is the highest form of self-love. As human beings on this journey, the more self-love we can give ourselves, the more love we can give to others. This is one of those examples of, for me, of something that I did because I'm all about the growth, that I didn't even know was going to give me the gifts that it gave me. Not only did I get the time management, the awareness, how I can create better boundaries, how I can divide my work and life situation, because I can tell you, before I went through menopause, I was a multitasker. When you're in menopause, multitasking is one of the most draining things you can do for your hormones. I didn't know that. So how I managed my time before, I would be doing one thing and then I'd be inspired and I'd do another thing and I would do another thing and I'd do another thing without even realizing how much that was draining my energy and my frequency. But I hadn't actually done anything to reset that within my scheduling. I was doing it in other areas of my life, but I wasn't realizing, even though I know that none of us are perfect. Bam Bam's pretty perfect, I have to say. But anyway, that's Bam Bam the dog. This gave me the opportunity to realize where I was multitasking within my scheduling and how much that was scrambling my brain and how exhausting that was. By not doing that, that gave me time that wasn't even probably noted in a 30-minute section, but it gave me time for myself and gave me time for my hormones to balance themselves and for me not to be pushing myself and raising my cortisol levels. So that's another whole level of time that isn't even obvious when you're doing the audit, because how do we know that unless we're talking about it? So my question would be, why would you not want to give this gift to yourself? Why would you not want to do this? It's 7 days out of your life. And you think it's doing this, which it is, but it's actually doing far more and enhancing so many different areas of your life. I'm really grateful for that. And every day I would discover something new about myself. I would discover also another area that I was beating myself up in that I didn't even know I was beating myself up in. Because I would be hearing the little voices in my head going, oh, wow, oh, you didn't manage to follow that for 30 minutes, or that went over, or you didn't do this, or you didn't do that. And I was like, wow, I'm beating myself up just around my schedule, let alone the other areas of my life where I'm beating myself up that we don't know that we're doing subconsciously. And I'm pretty conscious around it. So this was a whole nother level that I didn't know I was doing. You don't get more value. Your wealth is your health. And this is a whole nother level of giving yourself time, which is a wealth, because when we have more time, we can enjoy our life more. So you're giving yourself more wealth, which is giving you better health, because the more you're able to find time to do the things that you love, and the more able you are to have a system that helps you to focus on the things that you're meant to be doing without distracting yourself, and the more time you then have to not feel guilty about doing certain things because you've got them covered, because you've done a time audit, so you know where you're being leaky with your energy and you're just like letting things go or whatever. And that is the biggest gift you can give to yourself of anything. So yeah, why wouldn't you do it? I recommend everybody does it. It's one of those things that should just be taught in school or homeschooling or whatever education system that we follow.
What an incredible answer that is there. And we definitely need to have you back on the podcast for a whole conversation about your 8-week program, hormones. I did not even realize this multitasking part of the whole conversation. We're definitely going to have to continue that one offline before we get you back on the show to discuss it with all of us. I feel like there are so many missing and moving parts, and we're all at the leading edge of everything right now, and things that, as you were saying, are part of our everyday, but we don't really realize, and we're just making the best of things when life could be so much better. What would you say to somebody who says, yes, Ruti, I hear you, but I don't have time to do a time audit?
Well, the first thing that came to mind when you said that was we're constantly in survival mode. So we're surviving and we're not thriving. If you don't think that you have the time, when your health starts to decline, that's going to take up more time than doing a 7-day time audit. That's how I would answer that question. Right now, if you don't have time, you don't have time to be unwell. You don't have time to be in fight or flight all the time. You don't have time for your hormones to be so out of control you can't think straight and you've got brain fog and you can't focus. That's what you don't have time for. So if you're saying you don't have time, you're actually saying you don't have time for your life. You don't have time to live your life differently. And that's quite a big statement to say, because the only person that can make time for your life and for you to live the life that you want to live is you. And why would you want to give up on yourself and not create something or not put the effort into creating something that's going to give you a better quality of life? Because you don't have time to be unwell. That's what I would say about that one.
Wow. If you don't have time for your health, you won't have time for your illness, is a quote I once heard, and that's what I'm hearing you say right here, right now. What else would you like to add to this conversation to call it complete?
I would like to add to this conversation that, Abby, you're a genius. Creating this for people and continuously being committed to people having the best life that they can have, being committed to helping people see why time is important. This exercise is like a bending time situation without being too woo-woo. I know we love talking about the woo-woo. This is a introduction to bending time. Where your mind goes, your energy flows. None of these quotes are mine. Time is everything. Time is what we have. I really appreciate you. On behalf of like everybody that does your program who maybe hasn't been able to express like how they feel or hasn't maybe noticed straight after the program the impact that it's had on their life. And I just want to thank you for doing these amazing podcasts, because I know they take time and you're really committing your time to helping people's well-being, to helping people create the life that they love. I just want to say thank you. And I'm also super grateful. And I'm super grateful that after all this time, we're still in communication. We met many years ago. And I'm just super grateful for all of those things about you, and just want to celebrate you and all your amazing achievements. And this is such a gift. So thank you.
Thank you so much for all of that. I am receiving it. I also want to reflect it back to you. Thank you for being such a light in the world as well. And I cannot wait to have you back on the podcast again to talk more in depth about the work that it is you do, because it's absolutely life-changing. I did version 1.0 of your program a few years ago, and the transformation that I had with that was incredible, not just in a body sense of the word, that obviously I got to a size UK 0 in clothing, but from a mental and an emotional point of view as well, it was just so transformational. So I cannot wait to have you back again to talk about it and to do the program again to see what version 2.0 is going to bring out in me. Because as anybody who listens to the podcast will know, I always talk about the aesthetic, how we look, is the bonus to how we feel. And Ruti Block, thank you so much for your time and for being with us, despite the fact that halfway through this podcast episode, we had a power outage, people.
We did. We really did. Yeah, we really did. But luckily, my little generator kicked in. We were able to get back on quickly.
Amazing. And thank you to generators, and thank you to the proof that there is always a way around every situation that comes up in life. If you have loved this episode today, all of the links will be in the show notes for Ruti. All of the links will also be in the show notes for the Find Your Missing Hour 7-day challenge. We will very shortly be running it again as a live challenge, and we're in the process of turning it into an on-demand challenge as well. So you'll be able to start straight away if that's what you wanted to do. But in the in-between time, all the links are in the show notes for the book, Time Management for Entrepreneurs and Professionals. And if after all this you are still on the fence, you are undecided, go to the link in the show notes and grab yourself a free chapter of the book and get started there today. Because, my friend, it is your time. Welcome back. Oh my goodness. How amazing was that conversation? I absolutely loved it. And I'm so excited to bring Ruti back onto the podcast to talk about how we can look after our well-being so that our energy can become the asset we can all use to achieve and create the lives that we want to be living. Because what is the point of life if we are not enjoying this life experience that we're living? I hope you are as energized and excited as I am, having spent that time speaking to Ruti. She is an incredible rock star. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, book me to speak at your next event, to deliver a training for your team, then all the links are in the show notes to get in touch. If you're not sure where to start, download a free chapter of Time Management for Entrepreneurs and Professionals. The link is in the show notes. If you are ready to join us for the Find Your Missing Hour 7-day challenge, the next one that we will be running live and in person online, then the links again are in the show notes to join the waitlist. Depending on when you're listening to this, we may or may not have already run that, and the on-demand version of that training may be available. So check out the show notes for all the links. If you can't find what you're looking for, then you can email us at inquiries@successbydesigntraining.com. Links for that are in the show notes as well. Until next time, my friends, stay safe, stay well, and remember, it's your time. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you loved what you heard, be sure to let me know by leaving a review so I can keep the good stuff coming. Come and say hi on Instagram at Success by Design Training, or visit my website, successbydesigntraining.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search Abigail Barnes. Until next time, don't forget, you are amazing and it's your time.